Hi everybody, welcome back to Bobby's Bucks, and today I wanted to talk about the first few days of bow hunting season here in Michigan. You know, success with bow hunting really is three things: practice, precision, and capitalizing on the wisdom derived from the mistakes you've made throughout your hunting career. We're going to talk about some mistakes that were made the first few times saddle hunting on public land. We're going to have Brandon sit in for a few questions and maybe give someone some valuable insight from somebody starting saddle hunting and some questions they may have. Stick with us. We're going to talk all about it today. Here we go. So if this is the first time you're visiting the channel, I make videos to help you with your hunting on public land. 99% of our hunts are on public land, and we share valuable information straight to the point. This is just real first-hand knowledge where you can go out and start shooting, harvesting better deer. Now you can try to set up trail cameras, do some scouting, try to find some food sources early season, like alfalfa or clover or some apple trees, even watering holes on hot days. And if you'd like to hear more about that, I can put a video up in the corner, how to locate a good buck early season. But really we're just sticking to a plan of hunting towards feeding in the evening. And this time of year, bucks are bedding really close to their feeding sources. And some of you are just harvesting doe, and you can sit over a watering hole, or you can sit over really any clover patch, and you're probably gonna see some does come in early season, especially the first few days of the season because they're unpressured. It really doesn't take a lot to harvest a deer early season, as long as you do your homework, maybe watch some fields before the season starts, and you can kind of get an idea of where the deer are coming out. Now, of course, it's going to be challenging if you just go out there and try to find deer, or if you're hunting, say every evening on the same stand. That's going to cause some trouble. It's going to push deer out and just cause them to walk somewhere else during daylight. So, of course, if you scout, you run your trail cameras, you do a little bit of homework, you're probably going to have a successful hunt. Now, we're hunting public land spots that we've hunted over the years, and we really just, set up in the woods over some acorn patches, or maybe where there's an apple tree, or there's a funnel that goes out to some tasty greens or grass. It wasn't that cold of a morning opening day, so we didn't take the time to hunt and apply pressure to our stands, because you can do that and you can harvest a doe, and just harvesting a doe will really push out all the mature deer, at least for that area. So just know that if you can have a really good shot at some bucks early season, the first few days especially, but if you're going to harvest a deer, that's going to apply some pressure to that property. You're going to have to let that area cool off. So what we did was we just set up in an area. I was trying to put Brandon in a spot where he could see a lot of activity, and I was hunting more thicker areas, more secure areas where I might find a buck close to a bedding area. We had trouble finding a spot to hunt. Every parking area was packed with trucks and hunters. We wanted a spot alone where there was nobody hunting. We finally found a spot that only had one truck in it, and it was actually a contractor working on the house nearby. So we parked, we talked to the contractor real quick, we let him know what we were doing, and then we made our way out to the woods. Brandon set up in an acorn patch. I took this little saddle where the deer funnel out of this thicket into this field where there's some grass. It was uneventful for that night. We didn't really see much. Somewhere along the line, Brandon lost his Amsteel 8er. That was the first mishap for the weekend. Now, granted, Brandon already had a spot and stalk on a 200-yard stalk on this doe, and he made it all the way up to 20 yards. By the time he was up there, he was tired, he was exhausted, he was shaken, and then the deer pops up, he tries to make a shot, and he missed. So it's just been one thing after another. The following morning, something else happens. So the following morning was a really chilly morning. It was nice. We thought we were going to have some good movement. Right off the bat, I actually was trying to make my way out to this stand. It was the first time I was out there all year. It was so dark, it was so thick, I couldn't find it. I couldn't see my reflector tacks. I had to actually sit, just decided to quit, wait for sunup until I could find out and get my bearings, because the set points that I had on my phone, they were sending me off to tree stands that it wasn't my target tree stand. So I finally just waited, got my bearings as soon as the sun came up, right at dawn, and I made it to my tree stand. It was about 5 minutes after I got settled in my tree stand. I turned behind me, there's two doe come in, they made their way through. Another hour went by and a two doe come running in from my right. And that was the direction that Brandon was hunting. Come to find out, Brandon had two doe make their way through right in front of him, and he did this spin move in the platform, in the saddle, where you open up your stance and you shoot over your hip. You twist back to the tree and you shoot the deer that way, kind of like blending into the tree trunk a little bit better, because this deer was coming out on his exposed side. Being a new saddle hunter, this is all new to him. So when he twisted around, he didn't have enough slack in his tether and he wasn't able to draw back his bow. And it was a shame because the doe was only 15 yards away. So it was 45 degrees that morning, but it got all the way up to 75 degrees that night. So we wanted to get into this spot that we tried to the previous day, and there was 2 trucks in the parking area. So we decided to show up an hour early. We got there at 3:15 and made our way back there. We're lucky we did, because when we were back there, a hunter actually came right for the spot that I was hunting and I got to wave him off. So I beat him. It's very important to do that when you're hunting public land. So after sitting about an hour, the deer started moving right away, even though it was hot. A 1.5-year 8-point came right through at 30 yards and looked right up at me. He knew I was there. Eventually he busted me. So the buck threw his nose up, he winded me. Using milkweed, I could see that the wind had spun around and changed direction. The silver lining was that he ran right past Brandon. Brandon seen him about 40 yards, but he made his way through so fast that he couldn't get a shot on him. A little bit of time goes by, it's just starting to get dark. A couple bucks are making their way through. The first one was so nice that I actually drew my bow back. I had him at broadside 30 yards, and I decided to let down because I realized that he was only 1.5 years old. I thought this might be a good buck for Brandon, so they made their way through and they left in the direction Brandon was sitting. Unfortunately, Brandon said he never seen him. I texted him and said, look to your left. I think I got a couple bucks going, but it was pretty thick in there, so they probably just snuck in, snuck out. You know, we're always evolving as hunters, and you know, one buck may excite a hunter, whereas it won't excite the next hunter, and it's just because that guy has been hunting longer. And I think it's important to harvest deer that excite you. The worst thing you can do is shoot a buck that, you know, doesn't get your heart racing. So let those bucks pass and let another hunter either harvest those or let it go and let it grow, because next year, you know, every time you let a buck pass, there's more deer in the woods. I got Brandon here. Thanks so much for being here to answer some questions as a new saddle hunter, your perspective. So what was the biggest surprise? What was the biggest difference between saddle hunting and all the different tree stand setups you had experienced?
I think the biggest surprise and difference for saddle hunting was how versatile it is. You can get into any tree, and also once you get to know your gear, you are I feel like you're a lot safer in the tree. You're always strapped in, and I it just feels better. You are able to move around a lot more, and your options are way more open for the woods.
So what was an adjustment that you had to make compared to just a regular harness?
I'm still working on it, but definitely the shooting. The positions that you have to get used to, and pulling your bow back on when you're off balance or on your weak side. It definitely takes a lot more practice than you're traditionally used to, where you're on a platform with your feet set or just sitting. I think, yeah, definitely getting used to the ropes and your positions of what you're comfortable shooting in and what you're not. You're figuring out all your strongest, basically, ways to shoot. I know I had a problem in our most recent hunt with I was leaning away from the tree and the tension was too tight. When I went to go pull my bow, I couldn't turn.
Side.
Yeah, I couldn't turn all the way to the right. I actually got caught on the tether over my shoulder, and my bow drawn, I couldn't turn through the tether because it was too tight around my neck and shoulder. So there's small things like that that you kind of have to practice and get used to and work around.
So what are your concerns, or what do you think about sitting long term, all day sits in your saddle?
I could definitely do all day sits. Without a back strap though, I feel like you would have a lot of problems with just back pain and getting comfortable over time. I noticed a few times I had to adjust my saddle around my waist and my legs and kind of pull it down and create space again. But I think it's definitely very doable. You do get comfortable in your position and you're able to kind of either sit into it or sit away from the tree and push off. So as long as you have that back strap, you could definitely do longer than 4-hour sits.
Going forward, would you change anything with your setup? Because I know you weren't using a saddle or a recliner.
Yeah, I would
strap.
definitely add a back strap. You lent me your old saddle to use, and very much appreciative. But I have some notes, so no, I would probably eventually change out the saddle for something more comfortable. I feel like that plays a big key into your all-day sits. Overall, everything worked very well. Was quiet. I didn't really have troubles getting around the tree with setting up my my sticks and my platform. The only thing I could see changing is probably the saddle in the future. Maybe adding an aider to my setup, or a stick even. As far as weight and packability, I think it's the lightest setup I've ever had, which is nice, but also it makes you more aware of the weight that you're carrying in your sound and your setup process once you're in the woods. So it's hello!
You got Lincoln over here about to grill out. What kind of advice would you give to somebody if they were starting saddle hunting for the first time?
I would say practice. Find a tree on state land or on your property, wherever you hunt, and get very familiar with your gear. Know your gear. Trust your gear. You have to really understand your setup and your takedown process before you can efficiently and quietly get in the woods, I think. I had a couple of troubles going into the woods and doing it for the first time for real. So that was a big indicator to me that I needed to practice more. Double check your gear. Don't forget your aiders in the woods. Or your GoPro in the tree still.
It's easy to do though.
So yeah, just double check and make sure you have everything before you set off.
Because when you use a saddle, it feels so awkward. People often think it would be even more difficult. So do you think it presents more challenges or more strengths?
I'd say you definitely can get used to the gear very quickly, understand the opportunities that it actually does bring you. You get to see the new angles and opportunities that you can now hunt. It provides a lot more opportunity than it does challenges. And it's all challenges that can be overcome with practice and learning your gear and just applying it in hunts more. So
Cool. Thanks so much for sharing. Thanks for giving your point of view as a new saddle hunter. And one thing I wanted to share, you guys, to wrap this video up at the very end of it, for everybody that has stayed with us, I'm actually going to include a very cool tip for what happened to Brandon where the deer came out on the drop side, his exposed side. I'm going to show you a really quick tip on how to avoid that, where you can jump around the tree by using a screw and peg if the property allows it, or a strap around. It's often called a ring of steps. Ring of steps. Now this is the Hawk ring of steps. This is the lightest weight. Each step is, I think, 3.4 ounces. Now, if you don't want to mess with this strap or this buckle, you can always just use a screw and peg. This is actually about 1/4 of the weight. You can get around the tree and screw this peg in. That will allow you to say that the deer coming out like Brandon went through, where it was on his drop side, instead of going this way, you can simply get around the tree and you're hanging from your saddle, and you can hide and make your shot on the opposite side of the tree. Okay? Opposite, if the deer were on the other side, you can come over here. But one thing Brandon pointed out was the side pressure with this step is very weak. So be careful. Know that it has its limits, but this is how you would avoid that situation. So that's our first couple days of October hunting in Michigan. Saddle hunting brought new challenges, but we learned a lot fast. Next time, we're gonna dive into scent control. Is it worth it, or should you just set up with the wind? Stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching. Any questions or comments, please leave them down below. We'll get back to everybody. Thanks so much for taking the time to do that, and we'll see you on the next video.